So welcome back. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about stripping 101.
I'll just keep dropping it.
So we're going to go into different ways and of paint removal and rust removal on your car, your project right now. So we're going to go over a few of the items. There's different ways of removing rust and paint. You've got chemical, mechanical, sandblasting. So depending on what you have available to you, we're going to try and find something that works well for you and you know that you have the equipment for, and maybe show you some tools that you didn't know about. So first of all, let's take a look at some of the items that we might use to and that we will show you in the process of our project and taking the paint off of that one. All right, so one of the tools you might need or have available is just your basic angle grinder, variable speed. It's great for, mud work, for paint removal, and also for buffing. So this is something you might want to have during your process because you can use it for a bunch of different things. One thing you can use, this is the wrong size backing plate, but you can get an 8-inch, is use Mud Hog discs. Remember, using a Mud Hog disc or anything like that, you're going to take a lot of metal off. So not my favorite for this particular project. What I do like is there's different names for this: hamburger wheel, stripper disc, whatever. But you know, it has abrasive embedded into the material. It fits this backing plate. It's a 7-inch Velcro back. This one's really good. Again, doesn't remove a lot of material, but really is good at removing the paint without loading, and also getting the rust out of the pits quite well. You can also use the same type of material, the stripper disc, that has the 5/8 arbor or hole in the center. Be able to attach it to your grinder as well. So if you have a smaller tool, maybe a 4-inch, again, same type of material. They're in different sizes. Flap discs, this is another way of stripping material off. It's also good for grinding welds. Actually really good for grinding welds again, but it removes a lot of metal as well. Again, the stripper disc material on a roll-lock adapter, and then the surface prep. Great for removing the paint and the mud and some of the rust without getting into the steel. So we have the Mud Hog discs. You also have, if you're using a DA sander, again, I like Velcro because it lasts better and you can reuse it or whatever. Just basic 6-inch DA paper or Mud Hog 8-inch. All right, and then there's this tool here. It's a barrel stripper. Again, the same type of material. Actually, it's more like a coarse scuff pad, layered, and this one does a really good job as well. Only limitation is the design. It's flat, so you're basically just getting those flat surfaces. You can't really contour it very well. None of these really contour great because they're all pretty stiff, but actually pretty cool tool. And then of course, paint stripper. The Clean Strip is probably one of the best out there. Paint strippers have gone through kind of a cycle of they were really, really good and then they were really junk because they took the good stuff out, and they've gotten to the point where they actually strip pretty well now. So this is a great way without having to use any kind of machinery or anything like that. This does a pretty good job of getting right down to the steel.
Let's go ahead and try a couple of these out, see which one seems to work the best. I mean, a big part of it is going to be, time savings. One of the nice things, this stuff isn't the cheapest, but the nice thing is you brush it on and you walk away and just let it sit and you can go do other things. So where the other stuff, you're creating a bunch of dust, you're getting dirty yourself. And it's a lot of work. I mean, you're sitting there sanding for what can be hours instead of doing something else on your project. So is it worth the extra money with the time savings to get the chemical stripper, or is it better for you to save some money on sandpaper or stripping discs and put in a little bit more time and effort? And that's going to be all up to you on your budget, your time frame, whatever it is you want to do. So let's go ahead and try a couple of these out. So when it comes to the application of this product, you're supposed to prep your surface with 180 or 80 grit sandpaper before applying this, just to help it soak in a little bit better. This is rattle can paint. I'm sure that isn't necessary for what we're doing right here. But if we were removing something that was a catalyzed product or even some of the old lacquers or acrylic based paints, I would probably recommend going with that 80 or 180 just to help this strip a little bit better. So what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna apply it all over, smear it around, and let it bubble. Wow, that is nasty. I would probably recommend wearing a mask of some kind, especially if you're doing this in an enclosed area. This stinks. Alright, we're gonna see if I'm talented enough to be able to do this one-handed. See if we can get some of that application process up close. So you're just trying to get an even, kind of thick coat over the entire panel. So if we take a look at the other side that we were doing, we can already tell that this stuff is already just bubbling off. And again, we know that because this is an aerosol paint, it's just crappy rattle can, it's gonna blister off a lot faster. If you're doing this with a better product on the vehicle, it's going to take longer, but it's still going to do about the same thing. So we're going to give it a couple minutes. We're going to go grab a plastic squeegee and see how easy it comes off. So you can tell that in the spots that I didn't apply as much, it definitely does not come off as easy. I should have put more on there. It says to apply it with a plastic spreader in order to get it on really thick. And I think that with just applying it with a brush, I didn't get it on quite as thick as I should have, or it could just be baking off in the sun so fast that it's not allowing it to penetrate quick enough. So I might run another coat of this on there really quick. Holy hell. You know, I've smelled a lot of chemicals in my days, but that's bad. Jeez. Definitely wear a mask. Do as I say, not as I do. Gosh. Alright, let's see if that helped out at all. Oh, much better. Whee! See, the nice thing is even if this doesn't get everything off, at least you have a lot less to get off with your sandpaper. You don't have to sit there and hog away for 5 minutes on each freaking spot. Especially if you get one of those cars that's got like 12 layers of paint on it. This will do most of the work for you, and then you just have to finish it up. The only thing I'm worried about right now is I'm not going to get it all off by doing this. I'm still going to have to sand it. So how bad is it going to load my paper now that it's all goopy? Whatever the stuff is that I can't get off, it's still going to be soft and gooey. So we'll see if that's a problem or not. See, I didn't know how it would do. Whoa, jeez, lost most of that. I didn't know how it would do with body filler, if it would take off the body filler as easy as it took off the paint, or if that would not come off as easy, but it seems to strip it just fine. I'll be honest, I've never used this stuff on something this large. Typically, if I use a paint stripper like this, it's for small parts. I'll put some in a little bucket, dump some of this in there, and just pull it out after a couple minutes. And it just helps it so I don't have to try and sand little parts so much. But I've never actually used it on a panel before. I've usually just sanded everything. So it's interesting. Being able to try this out now. It's kind of satisfying. It's not satisfying seeing how bad these guys' bodywork is. So let's take a closer look at what it does. Just kind of get that view. First of all, close up on how bad all the bodywork is. There's a lot. And you can see down here how deep some of this Bondo is. Down through here is pretty bad. And all the snot on the floor. Just don't set the can anywhere that you don't want anything stripped, because I just had it sitting right there and I had my brush there. And it just lifts it all right up. So the next possible paint removal procedure would be to use a stripping disc. So we've got the new fender over here, or I guess not new, the other fender that we didn't just strip with the chemical stripper. And so we'll try this out on this fender, see if it saves us any time, see how well it works. All right, so we can see that with the stripper disc, it does a really good job of removing paint. And like I said, it doesn't really mar the metal at all. You can see Obviously it abrades it, but it doesn't mar it. It doesn't really like dig into the metal, but it does a good job of removing product. The only thing that I would say is, like any sanding, it's a pretty slow process. Just to do this area and here across the wheel well, it's probably been a good 15-20 minutes. Where with the chemical stripper, I mean, as soon as you start applying it, it starts working, and as you move across the panel, like as you continue to apply it, the stuff that you already put down is working. So it's kind of doing the work for you as you're moving across it, which is really nice, where, you know, obviously as you're sanding, you're just hitting that one spot. Nothing else is going away as you're doing it. So there is that when it comes to time savings. Now, one thing I do want to kind of reiterate is I didn't get all of the paint off of that panel with the chemical stripper. There's still a decent amount left, so we'll see how much effort it takes for us to get rid of what's left on that panel and see if that's actually worth the time savings or if it just seems like it is. But now we're going to switch to the DA with some 80 grit and see if that's any faster than the stripper disc. The other thing that's nice about it is, I mean, there's still quite a bit left on this thing. I mean, it's barely used up any of it. So it does last for quite a while, and it doesn't load up. You don't have to change it all the time like you do standard sandpaper. So that is a benefit of it. All right, so now let's take a look at what the 80 grit did. So obviously you can see how much more it affected the metal than the stripping disc. Like, you get a lot more metal removed. It's not terrible. I mean, it's not gonna affect the strength or anything like that. 80 is not aggressive enough to really do a whole lot to the steel unless you sit in the same spot for 45 minutes. Anyway, one of the big things that you can tell the difference between the stripping disc and the DA is that because the DA is larger and for the most part flat, you don't get it into those crevices or into the low spots nearly as easily. You got to tip it on an angle, and when you start using the edge of your DA too much, I mean, it wears out the sandpaper on the edge quickly, and it also can wear out your backing pad pretty quick. So I'd say that it did remove product a bit faster than the stripping disc did, but again, there's still quite a bit left behind because of how many low spots there are in this and how many awkward angles and reverse curves and everything there are, where the stripping disc can get in those curvatures a lot better. And if you have those low spots, you can angle it easier, get everything out. I mean, even the areas where there are stitch welds and everything, it got into the little grooves for the most part, where the DA would never be able to touch that. So as for speed for getting product off, if you've got a flat panel, DA is definitely the fastest. If you've got a lot of curvy areas and if your body work is really bad and it's super wavy, then the stripping disc is going to help a lot with that. And then, I mean, I guess that the chemical strip is kind of a little bit best of both worlds right there, where I mean, it's going to get everywhere, and it's going to get down in those crevices really easily, but it's also going to be pretty easy to strip it off the flat panels, especially with, you know, a larger squeegee of some kind, or a putty knife, or a Bondo spreader or something. So really quick, I'm going to put some of the chemical strip on this one to finish off these last couple areas. Then we're going to switch out the one that we already used the chemical stripper on and see how quick we can get the rest of the product off of that with the stripping disc and the DA. All right, so after a lot of sanding, we got one finally completely stripped. Let's take a look at why it's important to make sure that if you get a car that you don't know what's underneath it, you really need to strip it down and make sure you figure it out. There could be a lot of things under that old paint that you don't know about that could fail down the road if you don't address them before putting on your next paint job. Now, it was pretty apparent with this car that they had done some work to it already. I mean, they patched in a nice big chunk right here. We know that they stitched this line all the way across, and then for the worst of it, they stitched in this entire arch, and it is pretty nasty. But on top of that, there's, you know, quite a few little areas where they spot welded, just the little holes that held the moldings all over here. If you go all the way down, they are all over, and there's some that are a lot worse than the others. And again, we could tell some of this stuff, but without actually getting it down, I mean, there's little patches of rust like this all over the car. I mean, all these little spots are all little spots of rust. Go around the back side here, this whole section here. I mean, there's a bunch right along the top edge, and it looks like they had an antenna here, which is weird because they also have an antenna here. I don't know what that's about, but there's surface rust all over. And the thing is if you don't prep that properly and you don't put down an epoxy or something to seal your metal, some direct to metal corrosion resistant primer first, then that's just going to continue to spread and you're going to see it down the road. And they just went Bondo right over everything. They didn't put any sort of primer down first. So that's the kind of stuff that if you don't strip it, you don't know. And those areas where the rust is just starting, you might not notice it right now, but if you put a layer of paint over the top of what's already there, then who knows, a couple months, couple years, you're gonna start seeing blistering and seeing that come back through. So as for our stripping processes, standard sandpaper or stripping discs or the paint remover, to be honest, this was really cool at first, but because it didn't actually strip everything off, I feel like I almost had to do the same amount of work after the fact, trying to strip everything else off. And on top of that, when I was using the just standard sandpaper, it started loading up the sandpaper really bad because it was so gummy. So how bad is it gonna load my paper now that it's all goopy? Now I will say that this is not the only time that I'm gonna try this. I think I might try it again on another one of these panels, but I think that because it was in the sun and it was so hot that it was evaporating too fast for it to work properly. So I think that keeping it in the shade, maybe keeping it a little bit cooler, will actually help it work better. So we will try it again. I don't want to write it off right away just because I only tried it once. But so far, the stripping disc is the best thing for me. I think it removes the amount of product the fastest, and it's just a lot easier to use. I can get into areas that I can't get with the standard sandpaper. So right now, this is my favorite thing. But we've obviously got the whole rest of this car to strip. So we've got plenty of opportunity to try this stuff on different areas as well. Who knows, the sandpaper will probably be better for these larger flat panels than the stripping disc will. I mean, it just makes sense. So we're gonna keep going with that. So I'm gonna pop the next fender up there and see if we can get that stripped off as well. Well, I think one of the biggest things that we've learned after this first day of stripping the vehicle is that these projects tend to take a lot more time than you expect. And you know, after all the stuff that we've done in the past, all the project cars, I still don't think I ever learn. You know, I get into it and I go, I can do this in a day, and then it ends up being a week. But we've run into a lot of fun little discoveries hidden around the car, and we're excited to continue next week and see what more it has in store for us.
Some of the discoveries you go, and others like, oh, okay, I can do that. Yeah. Well, again, thank you for being here and watching us, and I hope you've gotten something out here that you can use and enjoyed the video. We've really enjoyed making it. Thanks again for being here.
Again, and let us know if you got comments, questions. We love to hear from you guys in the comment section down there. So thanks again, and we'll see you next week.